Because it's
I
torture sometimes, so there has to be some sort of
a lot
beautiful
of the
part
time.
underneath it. Yeah. I think we're coming around to the idea that writing is really shit sometimes. We kind of all hate it, but we
It's
My
like
God,
write it
it's
for
life.
tough.
ourselves anyway.
Amy and is a podcast that explores all kinds of bookish things, and that can include some pretty adult content. So please be aware that some of this content will be not safe for work or for young ears, and be careful who's listening when you are. Welcome back to Amy and I'm Amy Matthews, and I am here today with Justina Ashman,
Hi.
Millie Heffernan,
That's me.
Peyton Hogan,
Hello.
Abby Guy,
Hi.
and Harry Stewart.
Hello.
And we are meeting on beautiful Ghana land today. We'd like to pay our respects to elders past and present, and also to extend those respects to any First Nations people listening today. Um, it is Zine month, it's July, but it's one of those weird months where we get 5 weeks in a month, and these are our After Dark episodes, so they're usually a little bit looser. So I'm anticipating it's a little bit looser. It is, however, like midwinter here in Australia, and everyone's on deadlines, and so we're all a bit tired. So we may need extra caffeine today. But we're going to just talk about our writing. I kind of thought it'd be interesting to check in with everyone, and you're all like on deadline going, no, let's not do that. Yeah, I thought we'd just talk about what you've been up to all year. And it's funny because I did this. I don't know whether to introduce this topic, but we can cut it out if it gets boring. But in the lecture today, they were talking a lot about indie publishing, trad publishing, awards versus bestsellers, and I was thinking about how you really can't get where you want to go unless you know where you want to go, like what kind of career you want and what you want out of writing. And so I thought that was an interesting jumping off point because my friend Rach and I had this conversation once. I said this today and they all laughed because they literally had that conversation this morning with their other lecturer. But about if you could choose your career, would you rather win like the Nobel Prize or would you rather be a New York Times bestseller? Like they're the two only options, but
Yeah.
which one would
What
you
a
rather?
binary to introduce.
Yeah, but I'm like, and they kind of represent two different things, right? Like it's not really about those things, it's about everything they represent. So winning those kind of awards talks about kind of producing a kind of writing that is original and is a body of work and is experimental and is kind of a certain kind of excellence. And then being a bestseller is about reaching readers, but also being the kind of writer that has a contract every year or gets to write a book all the time. Whereas
Mhm.
if you win a Nobel Prize, you don't have to write a book a year. But so they're like two different careers. And I was just going to ask you guys whether you've ever thought about that, about what you want from your writing. And
Which one makes you more money for the least effort?
I was going to say, what's the prize money for a Nobel Prize?
Yeah, what is the
I
prize
think it's like
money?
$1 million, isn't it?
Oh, that's
Whoa. Well,
Million
maybe
doesn't go as far as it
that's
used
insane.
to, but
do it.
I
That's
was going to
prize
say
money too.
bestseller
That's not
easy,
taxable.
but
I've always wanted to be a New York Times best-selling author, but I feel like that's impacted by what mattered to me as a reader when I was growing up, because I fell
Mm.
into the love of books through reading growing up. And to me, the books that like were wow factors were New York Times best-selling author. I was like, ooh, like that mattered on a book cover, whereas I had very little knowledge of what even awards were around and what mattered. And so I know now what awards are around, but it was never the goal when I was younger, and I feel like I've like held on to my young self's goals the whole way
Mm.
through.
I think I used to want to always write and make a living off of writing, but I think now I'm going in a completely different direction in my life, and I'm just happy writing and not being published. Like I just like to write. I like to sit and I've got so many. I was looking through this just when before we started recording at all of the completed like short stories, at the novels that I'm writing, And I just flick between
The
them and I'm like,
novels. I love you.
yeah,
The
no,
novels
no.
that I'm writing.
So many, so many like very intensely large documents in here. And I'm like, you know what? If they don't go anywhere, it actually doesn't bother me that much because I'm still a writer if it's not in a bookstore. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I,
I
I
could,
know
Yeah.
yeah.
early on in my career, I remember thinking I never want to attach the money to the writing at the
Mm.
beginning because it was like it just squashes all the creativity out of it when you're like feeling the pressure to earn money from it.
Mm.
And also I think, oh man, I mean, it takes so long before you can make a living as a writer
But I
that
think
putting that pressure on.
the same also works in the other direction. Like if you're putting all the pressure on the prestige, I think you're
Yeah,
also squashing your creativity.
Agreed.
100%.
Agreed.
If
Yeah.
you're trying
Yeah.
to write books that are appealing to a certain, judging panel or a certain like literary taste, and you might be cutting off avenues of your own creativity that you're before you get a chance to
I
explore.
actually think that one's a lot harder too because you
Mm.
can't, I mean, how you can't control that at all. Like I do think being a working writer, you can kind of control a little bit, but winning awards or even, making the bestseller list is not something you can really control.
And only very few awards actually have a proven impact on sales.
Mm.
Maybe
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
implicitly says what my priority would be.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know how they get the New York Times bestseller list?
Oh, isn't there like 10 billion different ways? And that's why everyone's a New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like you've told me this before.
Well, I think
Do
it
people
is a
pay?
bit opaque. Well, I think you can skew it a bit, but that it's not like based on every bookstore. It's like they nominate the bookstores that they'll track for the award. And so
Mm.
it's whether you're
Oh.
selling in those bookstores.
Can
Oh.
you ever
Okay.
possibly know what bookstore they are tracking and then go visit those bookstores, sign your
Well,
copies?
there are so many things in there, right? Like because then it's like, did your book get distributed there? How many
I'm
copies?
pretty
Like
sure there
how?
was an actual scandal about this like several
Hmm.
years ago where
Yep.
someone went and was putting in orders for their own book at bookstores that go to the best sellers list. And so they
No
couldn't
way. Oh
get
my God.
themselves on the list.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
Well,
that.
I was going to say, I don't want to dox anybody, but just imagine our local suburbs and that's the bookstore. It's like right next to my place. And I'm like, here's 50, go and get a copy.
But it's
We
very
should open a bookstore, but we just sell our books.
Yeah, and then hope it gets selected.
And it's an MLM, so like people sign on and then they get like 10 copies of each book and they have to sell it to all of the people.
They're like 600 copies of Amy's book in a week. One local bookstore.
Oh, I was wondering how long it would take for someone to turn the book club into an MLM.
yeah.
In the grand
Yeah.
scheme, though, I just want to write good books. But
Yeah,
like,
that's what's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
wanna...
that's the tricky bit.
My favorite thing is just when someone likes my writing because I'm really narcissistic and I love compliments.
I think you are the
So I
opposite
just-
of narcissistic. If I were to draw a narcissist, it wouldn't look like you.
Well, is it a covert narcissist that is
Oh, you
actually
what,
has terrible self-esteem?
so you're a covert narcissist, are you?
That's me.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So just if everyone can give me a compliment every day, I will hate it,
I don't feel
actually.
like you're passive aggressive enough to be a covert
Yeah, there's not enough
narcissist.
passion. Yeah.
We've established that even when I'm trying to be mean, it doesn't work, and it just
I know.
Yeah, I feel like even
just say
saying that
please a little bit less.
aggressive is still quite nice and polite, actually.
So how
I
do we
think if you worry about being a narcissist, you're definitely not a narcissist.
I feel like
Okay,
you can
there you
like
go.
someone telling you your writing's good and not be a narcissist. I just feel like they don't go.
Yeah, I don't think that makes you a narcissist. I think
Isn't
that's
it
pretty
impossible?
normal.
But there is to go back a step, Peyton, like surely if we write for others, like there are obviously people who would write and never ever show anyone anything. But most of us want people to read our work.
Mm.
And I think it's like having a conversation, like it's not as much fun talking to yourself as being heard by someone else.
Yeah, I think so. This is why I love whenever Abby talks about my book because she's read it. And she always says, she could be lying, but she always says she likes it. And I always walk away from that going, oh my God.
I wish it was
Well.
a physical book.
Abby's,
No one wants to publish it. This is real writing talk for the listeners. I have been pitching this book and no one will publish it because it is,
You
I
can't
think it's
say
because
no
it's too
one.
long.
Yeah,
I'm going to stop you there. So first of all, You have
Or
not showed
agents.
every publisher or agent in the world. And second of all, there's a lot of complex reasons they might not pick it right now. And it
Yeah.
might have nothing to do with the writing.
Exactly.
One of the things that makes it hard to visualize your career at the moment is from an economic standpoint, the industry is super risk averse when we're seeing that in movies as well. Everyone's well aware of that. It's the exact same thing with books. So it's actually very difficult. You have to be like a guaranteed bestseller to get anywhere, basically.
Mm.
They're not really taking many risks. They want, and this isn't publishers, it would be people on the money side of things. Like I think every single editor that I've met, everyone who works in publishing wants to publish just good books. And
Yeah.
there are always like, I don't know, differences between like the money side and the we just want good books side of the
Yeah, it's like you got to
industry.
get the boardroom on your side, you know. Like I always imagine like a boardroom table full of like faceless people being like, but the money though.
Yeah.
And then I blame those people.
Yes.
But when
This
you-
book is going to cost this many thousands of dollars
But
to
when you
produce.
meet them, I mean, yes, there are the finance people with their spreadsheets. I think, yes, 100%. But then, like, the salespeople are really talking about how do I sell this to a bookseller? Like, why is a bookseller? And so I don't know, when you meet them, they are just kind of good-hearted people trying their best to make those chains of production work.
It's
Well, I think this
capitalism
is-
that's the problem, not the people. It's the
Bloody
capitalism.
capitalism.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I feel like people frequently forget, and I think actually especially writers forget, is that publishing is not and never has been a meritocracy. And it is a like commercial industry where at the end of the day, especially a large publisher, they have like targets they need to meet to hit their like bottom lines and things like that. And that I think it's very, very common for people to be passing up on really wonderfully written books just because it's not fitting in whatever like scheme that they have planned. Like, I just think there's so many reasons, and people really internalize this idea that like, oh, if the publisher isn't saying yes, then there's something wrong with it, which isn't always the case.
No,
Yeah,
that's right.
and my supervisor, I remember saying to me with my first book, like, this might actually be your third book published because you might need people to trust you before you can put that out. And I was thinking about that because, you know, I think what publishers are looking for. So you might get a great book that stands out where they're like, oh, you've written one book. We think this could really hit a market. We see where that sits. But for a lot of us, I think it's more having produced a few books and them saying, okay, you can write more than one book and you can write at a consistent quality and you can kind of produce regularly. You don't miss your deadlines. Like, I think for a lot of us, it's an audition process for quite a long time of like, and they don't pay us very much at the beginning, but I do think there's a sense of, you know, it's hard to take a big risk on someone if they've written this, they've spent 13 years writing one book and then you put them out there, which and people do. They spend a lot of time on their first book. And then it's like, now we need another book, and people struggle to write that second book under pressure. So I do think as a writer, it's kind of liberating to think, okay, my job is to just write some books and practice it. And because we're all in such a hurry to get published.
Yeah.
And I always love, one of my friends said to me once, she was an award-winning multi-published author and I could not get published. I remember thinking, oh, fuck off. But she said to me, if you knew that one day you would get published, you'd relax and enjoy this bit. And I always think of that now when I'm struggling with something, of like, if I just assume that's going to pan out one day, because I can't control it, I might just enjoy where I am right now.
That might be a nice way of putting when I say that I'm not really like chasing publishing. I'm just kind of like, everything at the moment is working out in other parts. So like that bit will, you know, it'll be fine. It'll
And
be
I
okay.
think
I'm just going to keep writing.
it's never going to be like a detriment to have a whole bunch of drafts, like completed drafts up your sleeve.
It's also so nice for my
True.
brain. Like my writing, that's how I write. Like that's what my process is like. And so I was looking, like, I've got three romances here, a sci-fi, a short fantasy, and a long fantasy.
So do you
Can I
jump with-
interject? Can I interject though? Can we take a step back?
Yes,
Can everyone talk about what they write?
Harry.
Oh, yes.
Finish your list. Yeah.
At the moment, I've been writing romance because that's what my PhD is about. And then I've started a new romance book last year, start of last year, and I've been working on that. And then I got sidetracked and I started another one because I fell down a rabbit hole. So, but mainly I started out writing fantasy. So everything I read and wrote was fantasy. And then I fell into a sci-fi hole last year, so I started a sci-fi book.
Ah, amazing.
So
Yeah, I
how
remember
does
when
it,
your PhD novel was fantasy, and then the next time I
yeah.
heard about it, you were
Yes.
like, "Oh yeah, it's this modern romance." I was like, "Wait, what happened?"
Yeah.
Yeah. My honors was fantasy, and then I was going to do PhD fantasy, and then I completely changed.
So when you're writing that many things, can you explain how that works? Like, what does that look like in practice?
In practice, I focus on what I feel the most connected to in that moment. And that sounds like the most like woo-woo, like bullshit. But it's like sitting down and going, depending on what media I'm watching. So like a bunch of my comfort shows fit all types of genres. And sometimes they get me into that like feeling of wanting to write things like love and human connection in a really specific format, which is when I write romance, some of my romance stuff. If I'm feeling nostalgic, I'll write romance too. Or if I'm feeling grateful, those are like emotions that help me write romance. If I'm feeling like a real whimsical, like sense of wonder, and I want like something that's really like stressful to write, like really stressful to write because it's there's so much going on. It's so much to explain. But then I write my really big fantasy novel when I'm in my like Lord of the Rings mood and I want to do all
I
that
would
stuff.
love to write a fantasy book one day.
I think you'd be so good at writing a fantasy book too.
The world
Anyway,
building would be
Yeah.
World
incredible.
building.
I would
I
love to
want
write
an Amy fantasy book, like
And
now,
Amy,
stat.
Well,
yes.
I'm doing some witches next, but I would like to do an epic historical and a fantasy one
Oh,
day. One
oh
day.
my
I
God.
just need to
Oh,
clone myself
I
more.
feel like you'd be so good. I don't know what the witches is, but I feel like you'd be so good at the practical magic type
Yeah.
witches, like that vibe.
mm.
Delicious.
What's the pen name? Let's come up with
Yeah.
it.
Like
No more pen names.
No more pen names, says Amy.
I cannot run another Instagram account. I'm been topped out.
I love that that's what it is.
Yeah, you're gonna have the
I
tax revenue
can't,
going.
no
Another
more
IP
websites.
address? Jesus, settle down.
I feel like what makes those big fantasies like hit so hard for me personally is when you have a writer who can sell that world building and sell the lived inness of it
Mm.
with like the strength of character, which I feel like you would be absolutely killer at. I can't wait for you to do this book.
This
Yeah.
imaginary book, this
Yeah.
future book. So Harry,
Speaking,
when you're writing, how much time do you like? What does the week look like?
The week, because I work full time, I come home on a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday, and I do my thesis stuff. So I do my study. And then if I'm getting really tired of that, I'll try and do some writing after that if everyone's gone to bed. And I kind of need to switch my brain into full
Yeah.
creative, just like go crazy. Thursday and Friday nights, I will try and do some writing, but sometimes I just take them off because I do all my research. I work on obviously on
Mm.
Thursdays and then do this. I see you guys, and then try and fit some writing in that's not like research focused.
I
And then I
think
love a Saturday afternoon. This is so corny, but I love to sit outside on a Saturday afternoon at like 1 o'clock, and I'll always have a glass of wine, and then I just pick whatever I'm feeling like I feel like weirdly
Oh,
connected to. Like if I'm feeling really calm and relaxed, then I'm going to go into my romance book and just start jotting down some things. But I never set a limit. I could write for 15 minutes, I could write for 4 hours.
nice. I
I
like
have
the
a
lack
question.
of pressure there.
I have
Yeah,
a
I just
question,
want it to be fun.
Harry, for you, which is listening to that schedule, how many days a week would you say you sleep?
I usually sleep from, I get like about 6 hours a
Wow,
night. It's
every day.
fine.
Wow.
Yeah, I
wow, you're
sleep every
sleeping every
day.
day.
I try not
Wow.
to work past 12:30. That's like my cap. I'm like, I have to be up in the morning. I have to do this whole process
Oh.
again.
See, I
So,
think Dr. Mill will agree with me here. The one of the best years of my life was the year after the PhD when it was over. Because it's like this pressure goes. All of a
yeah.
sudden you've been sitting under this pressure for years and it's gone. And all of a sudden reading and writing was fun again. It's like I can
Well,
do anything I want.
I
Well,
was actually
my
having,
year off, my year after my PhD finished was last year. So we started the pod last year, and I was like, actually, I will read these books.
yeah. I was having a conversation with my family last night and then again with my dad this morning. And I said, he was complaining about having to do multiple things all at the same time because he's a very busy person and we have the same head. And I said to him, I was like, do you ever get jealous of people having one version of themselves? And he's like, all the time. He's like, I wish that I could just have one hat and then I come home and then that hat changes into like the loving partner or the family person or something like that. And he's like, but the pressure of multiple streams of income and them all having different versions of yourself. He's like, oh God, it just makes me sick sometimes, Harry. It makes me sick. And I was like, I feel that because that's how it feels, I think. That's how a lot of writers would probably feel.
Yeah, because
And
most
it's
writers have a day job, so yeah.
yeah, and it's hard when it's like it sounds like for both of you, it's also a compulsion, not just a necessity. Like you do want to be this way, but then it kind of kills you a bit. But like
Yeah, it
you
does.
don't
It's the
want to
balance.
stop.
And so I think that's why people say to you, Amy, they say, how do you do it? Because
Mm.
for some people, they only have one or two hats, and you have four or five.
Lots of hats. The other thing, though, I think is just about because we all have the same time, but all of us have different levels of energy. I will want to acknowledge that's different for everyone, and so you can't expect everyone to be the same ever. But there are things I give up. Like, and one is friends. One is like I don't watch TV hardly at all. Like,
Yeah.
I was at a work lunch yesterday, and they're all talking about what TV they're watching. It's like, I'm lucky if I see, an episode a week, or I might
Yeah.
watch some sport with my partner. But I'm often doing something while I'm watching it.
Yeah, that's me. I
Um,
always do things while we're watching. So,
so yeah, and I've given up. Like, I don't read a lot for pleasure anymore because I read so many theses and drafts and stuff. So
That would
yeah,
kill me.
you
That
have
would
to
make me so resentful.
you have
Even
to
doing the PhD, I most of the reading I do is just for fun. Like I
yeah.
refuse to not
Yeah.
read.
I
yeah.
do it on holiday, I read, but you have to give stuff up. Like you're not doing everything all the time.
Yeah, you don't have like an infinite well to draw on.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what do other people's writing days look like, and how do we like?
Well, what are we writing?
What are you
What are we
guys
writing?
writing?
Yes, what are we writing?
It's
And then
like
how's the
everyone's telling me
writer?
like I'm writing.
Next, who wants to go
Answer my
next?
question.
In the hot seat, Abby.
Me? Okay. I write
Me?
Me?
Oh my.
I write romantic fantasy. I wouldn't call it romantasy. It might fit in romantasy. Who knows? That's what I write. I'm writing my PhD novel at the moment. I feel deflated about it, which is why I'm
You're just at
but
that stage of the
yeah,
PhD.
I
You're
said I
tired.
have a draft through this week. It's Thursday. There's no draft in anyone's inboxes, so that's the stage we're at.
Therapy session begins now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I switched from the exegetical drafting. I still have more of that to do, but I'm waiting for the feedback before I get too much
Yeah.
further on.
And that's my fault because I'm late on the feedback.
No, and I was late giving it to you. It's a whole thing. But switching, I find from exegetical writing to creative writing has been really difficult in not even like opening the document and looking at it way and being like, I don't even know how I'm gonna start being creative.
I
Like,
think partly that's burnout. Do you know, I think that there's a point
Mm.
you reach in the PhD, there's a couple of points in the PhD where you hit burnout.
yeah, but it's I can't hit burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Don't have
Like
time for burnout.
the time for burnout. I can burn out afterward, which I probably won't. I'll have all the time in the world and I'll be like, hey, now I actually want to do stuff.
But I think you have to acknowledge it. Like you have to give yourself compassion. Like, because I think we jump to like beating ourselves up, right? Like, oh, what's wrong with me that I can't open a document or that I can't? And you have to go, actually, I'm super tired. My brain is tired. I've used up a lot of resources here. Like to just even acknowledge it, because then you can problem solve it a little bit. Like, what do I need to give myself in order to have the energy to do this?
There is a brilliant book called Burnout by Amelie and
Yeah, I've got it
Emily
right
Nagoski.
behind me on my
Yeah.
shelf
And
here.
I bought it when Amy suggested it to me once. And they really do talk about the weird, like, parasocial relationship that you develop with yourself and the person that's burnt out and how you try and hide it. And that actually just, like, sitting with yourself and acknowledging the burnout and not trying to talk yourself through it, but just admitting that it's there and that means certain
Can I
things
tell you, my
are harder.
favorite thing about this book is that it's aware that everyone reading it is burned out. So it has a too long didn't read bullet points at the end of each chapter.
Oh,
So you
amazing.
can literally just read the bullet points.
Oh, that's awesome.
I might get
Thank
that
God.
book now that
Yeah,
I
hold
know.
on. Let's just
Really
everyone
good.
write it down.
I gave it as a gift to somebody that I know that I was like, "You're in burnout." And they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Read this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, you'll feel
That's such a
better."
writer, like
Yeah.
teacher thing to do. Read this
I'm,
book.
I'm
It'll
gonna diagnose you right now.
but yeah, I'm writing that.
Writing that.
Do you write solely books with dragons, Abby?
No,
Gotta think about it now.
yeah, actually,
Yeah.
every
I just
single
feel like we talk about a lot how about dragons are an Abby
Yeah.
thing, but I was like, do you write other stuff?
every single thing I wrote when I was in undergrad had a dragon in it, except for 2 stories. One of those was during Amy's historical topic. So it was historical, didn't have a dragon in it, even though arguably it could have. And the other one was a sci-fi. That didn't have a
Could
dragon.
also have
You-
dragons in it.
What was the one you won the award for? Or you got-
Oh yeah, your short story.
Oh, that was
That
a
one-
literary. That was
Yeah,
a
there's no
literary short
dragons
story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do write stuff without dragons, particularly my short stories. Like I like a literary short story. I don't think I could ever write a literary novel.
You never know.
Oh, you totally could.
No.
The minute I
Yeah.
say I can't do that, then I do it. Like it's like
You're a
something breaks in me.
Very
It's
good
like,
literary
well,
writer too. Very
Maybe
good.
maybe you would sit more in like the novella, so you can have that really like
Mm.
sharp prose, but not
Yeah.
have to
Mhm.
like stretch it. So
Yeah. I feel like when I'm writing something that I feel really passionate about, it has a dragon in it.
Mm.
Normally.
I've
love
been
that.
looking forward to this is Abby therapy session stuff.
I don't know.
I've been looking forward to reading everyone's work, but I've probably seen the most of Abby's more than anyone's, and it's like so frustrating because it's so good. And
it's so
she-
good. And the
her
world building is so
prose,
good.
Abby writes the most beautiful poetic prose, and it's such a tease having
yeah.
read some of it because now I have to wait. And she kept
I
saying she
know.
would send it to me chapter by chapter, and she has not.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
say that to everyone. Payne.
Yeah. Knowing Abby, it needs to be perfect before you get
No, I did a silly thing where I wrote the first draft and it's within the word count, but it's missing like so many chunks of chapters, where I know what would happen between A and B, but I need to now write them.
And how do you fit it in?
Yeah,
It's
and I
a
have
curse.
I have this need to write them before I send it off for drafting. So
Fair. I was going to ask you about world building because you do these big fantasy worlds, and I think you do world building incredibly well. Like even the opening of your book, which I won't describe because you're going to sell it. But the
also
opening of
probably
your
not
book,
the same.
but the setting is probably the same. It kind of lives rent free in my head, and the names, like Peyton was talking about the poeticness, the names that you give the places, I think, are so powerful. I was wondering how you go about that. Like, how do you set about world building?
There are some people who write full notebooks and like study it, etc. I feel like this is going to be the most annoying answer to ever exist. But I sit down and start writing, and it just happens on the page. Like I think the name
La-di-da.
just happens. Yeah. I think one of the names you're talking about at the moment, Amy, is I called there's an ocean in my novel. I can put it out there because
This is exactly the one. Like, I just
Yeah.
think about this all the time.
it's called The Threadbare Sea. It just happened. I was writing and I was like, blah, 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 Threadbare Sea, blah, blah, blah. Like it just
But
happened.
I don't think I think
I'm
that
just
can that can sound annoying to people who are very like rigorous in research planning stages of that's how they write. But thinking through writing is a genuine way of doing that work. Like writing it is doing the research at the same time, I think.
Yeah. And every time I write a chapter, it's annoying for like later myself because every time I write a chapter, something new will come out. And then in drafting, I have to go back and kind of weave that back through.
Do you track as you go, like names of things or just like little facts that you need to remember? Okay.
No.
Yeah, she's like,
That's
why
all
you're
future
like-
Abby's problem.
So you're purely organic.
Very organic. I'm also not a linear writer. Like when I wrote this novel, I didn't sit down and start at the beginning and end at the end. I wrote the first 3 or 4 chapters and then I bounce between chapters. So I go, I feel like writing this today and I'll write that chapter, which is why I probably have chunks of chapters missing in the first draft because I don't sit at the beginning and go through to the end.
I used to do that, and now I make myself write
How
linearly.
do you do that though? How do you plan that out in your head? And in terms, because that seems wild to me. I'm like, I don't think I could jump ahead. I'd get lost in my own story. So how do you find when you're writing the chunks? Are you thinking of certain plot
Um,
moments or emotions that you need to capture in or plot progression? Like how are you
Or is it
thinking
a visual
you're
image?
jumping?
Do you just
Yeah.
get
it's
a
very,
visual?
yeah, it's a visual image.
Yeah.
I imagine everything in my head. I do a lot of, I don't write anything down, but I do think I do a lot of thinking, which has
Mm.
become very evident in my PhD. So like if I'm in the shower, I'm thinking and I'm imagining. If I'm driving, I'm thinking and imagining. Um, like all of those sorts of things. And so just have these ideas that I know I'm going to get to eventually. And
Mm.
instead of saving up and getting there, I just jump ahead and write.
Yeah, okay.
Because I've got the visual there so strong, I just put it down on the paper. But it becomes very apparent as well that like my world building might be good, but my emotional arcs aren't there, which is what I have to work on much harder in the next
I think that's normal in
drafts.
organic
And that's
writing,
also,
Mm.
yeah.
because I
Mm.
think the emotional logic then is something you work at. Like you kind of write the organic first draft, and then you have to go sort your emotional logic.
Yeah, so which is why I think I not writing linearly works because I'm not following a trajectory of any kind.
Mm.
I'm getting plot down, I guess, rather
Yeah.
than like the nitty-gritty.
I think people get annoyed by organic writers as well because they're always like, oh, well, this is the way that I do it. This is the way it goes. But I'm like, no, no, no. This organicness might mean that you can knock out a 70,000 word draft in like,
And then there's a lot of
month.
redrafting.
Yeah,
Organic people
it's
redraft more.
yeah, it's really shit. Okay, this first draft is really shit. It's not even a book. It's just a
That
collection
being
of things.
I
that being
also
said, though, this is my first novel. Like before I wrote this, the longest thing I wrote was my honors, and before the honors, the longest thing I wrote was 3,000 like word stuff for my undergraduate. And so I'm used to writing chapter lengths.
Mm,
And so sitting down and writing a novel, I could be entirely different my next novel. I don't know.
mm.
I also think that like frustration with organic writers that some people have, it's just because it's harder to articulate the work that's happening. It's not that it's not happening.
Yeah,
Um, and I think some writers are better, understand better what's going on under the surface of their own process than others. So it can feel like someone's like, well, I just sit down and then I've got a novel, and you think, fuck
yeah,
you.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, they're just not articulating all the work that's been happening.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
people think
yeah.
that it's cockiness, but it's actually like I talk to other organic writers and they're like, God, isn't it the worst? I wish I could be like the others. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I want to be a planner. I want to be a plotter and a planner.
I wish I
But
knew what was happening.
I wish I knew what was happening when I was writing. Okay.
I think
Just
that, and
haven't.
there's pluses and minuses to both, right? Because planners can be, they've got their art, but also it can get a bit wooden. Can get a
Yeah,
bit like
stiff.
you're
I've always
moving.
found stiff.
Yeah.
Mm,
And they're so rigid in their thinking as well that I do believe that my characters are like, we're doing this now. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's the trajectory we're following. But if you've got this plan in your head, there's no movement like at all in the narrative as you're going. And then
yeah.
when you receive edits, you might also be a little bit more rigid. I don't know.
So fun though, because then as an organic writer, you can be like, and what if they just killed him here? Like, no, that wouldn't make any sense. But like, wouldn't it be fun
One
to?
thing I find about being organic, maybe this is more now that I write linearly, is that you're kind of responsive to the energy of the page. Like you kind of you're like, oh, I'm hit a boring patch. Like this is a quiet patch. Skip
Mm.
this. We'll get to something else.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you're kind of stuck on a plan, and this is not to say planning doesn't work. It works really well for some people, but I feel like if I was on a plan, I'd plod through those bits instead of
Mhm.
being responsive to the fact this is kind of a dead page.
Mm.
Mm.
I find I like oscillate between the like more organic writing and the planning. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and it's never the same. Because apparently this is an ADHD thing actually, is like planning the thing in your head gives you all the dopamine of doing it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to actually do it. So
Yeah.
sometimes if I am get too carried away planning, I then never write the story because it's already all done. But
Mhm.
the words aren't there. It's just a
Yeah.
plan. And then sometimes sometimes I have the exact thing that you were describing, Abby, where I'll be like, no, I'm going to do a plan. I'm going to follow the plan. And then it starts to not really fit the plan. And then I just drop it because I get stuck when it's not working out the way I'd pre-planned it to be, instead of just letting it shift into something else.
That's a good segue to ask you about your work, Justina.
Yeah, I've been also working on my PhD novel, which is apocalypse romance. I do think it probably leans more towards like a literary spec fic apocalypse romance. Just because I'm a very vibes heavy writer. I'm not a very plot heavy writer. So I just tend towards more literary, I think, just because of the lack of plot. But I don't know, I feel like historically I started off writing fantasy when I was younger. Like fantasy was the thing that first got me into reading. And I haven't written fantasy for a really long time actually, but I used to write lots of fantasy and lots of sci-fi as well. And then as a teenager I got very into writing really tragic stories about people dying and grieving.
That's a lot of the undergrad stories I read.
Yeah,
They're
that was
really
a lot of what I was
intense.
writing in undergrad as well.
Really, really like undergrads, really intense stories about death and grief and
You're really working through stuff in your early 20s.
yeah.
I do also think it's partly like you're working through developing your writing, right? So you're like you're testing out how you write those extremes of emotion, and it just like tragedy is like an easy, but that's like it comes to mind first of like what's an extreme emotion I can tap into.
Cool.
I do like crying. I like crying in
You like crying in books.
Spend some time with Amy.
I guess my goal, I would love to write a book that makes people cry, but is still happy in the end. The happy sad that you talk
I
about.
really can't wait to hear your thoughts on Treasure House then. Did it work? Did it work?
It did. It did.
So Justina, writing process. So you find plotting bogs you down a little bit. Are you comfortable? Like, because Abby, you're describing feeling quite comfortable with being an organic writer. Do you feel like you're comfortable letting it flow, or?
I think I'm figuring it out still, because it's the same as what Abby was saying. I've never written anything long before, and all the short stories I've written that I've been happy with, or that I've even just finished, is because the whole thing was just in a blob in my head that was basically just waiting to get put down.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Yeah, it's so
and I just
different.
write it onto the page. It's usually, very strong images and vibes and things that I'm just trying to get across. But it's hard to take that process to a novel because of the I feel like it's a necessarily quite short thing, because I can't keep a whole novel in my head.
Yes, yeah. That's where you've got to use the chapters. The chapters kind of function as like their own little objects. And I think because novel is, I'm really curious to hear what you all want to say about this too, about writing novels, because you don't write lots of them to start out because they take so long. So it takes a few to kind of get your head around how to feel comfortable with the free fall. There's this weird spot when you're in a novel where you're like, okay, I've gotten through the energy of the opening, and now what? I'm in the middle bit.
The vibes die.
And then you just don't do the middle.
So I did the middle bit.
You go choose your own adventure.
Because it does take some narrative propulsion, right? Like because I'm vibes based too. Like I really think about setting and vibes, and they become like almost your anchor points.
That's very clear, actually.
And then you got to work out, how do I connect these anchor points?
Yeah, the connections I always struggle with. I think I don't really think in chapters. Maybe that's my problem. But I think in like discrete scenes. And then I'll write the scenes but not necessarily know how to weave them together or connect them all. Or even what order they appear in, because I'm so non-chronological. Not just in how I write, but also then how I want it to read on the page. I like non-chronology a lot. And sometimes I'm like, maybe it should just be chronological.
Have you?
Well, no, what if it wasn't? Embrace it. What if your novel just is like that?
Yeah. Do you feel like you need to find a way to stitch the scenes together, or is that something you could try getting over and just putting them down? as
It's
they are
actually
in letting the reader decide that it works.
it's actually something that I've been paying more attention to when I read other books because I think in my head there needs to be so much more connecting all these moments
Yeah,
than
I get
actually
that.
needs to be on the page. And I'm like, oh, if I'm paying attention to how time moves in the books I read, like you can skip and it's no, you don't even notice it as a reader. Um,
Yes. I had
um,
the same issue. And then you're reading something and you're like, oh, we're here now. Oh, we're just here now.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
Yeah.
I
right.
agree with that because I do think in your first draft you start doing all the plotty stuff that you doesn't
Yeah.
need to be in there. Like you know it when you reach scenes like she crossed the room, she took the door handle, she turned the door, she stepped through the door. It's like, what am I doing? Just go 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, something happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like we've done so many book clubs now, and I know it's not as many as some others have, but I think I got myself out of the mindset of it having to all be like perfect to make like have so many connections that were so seamless. And I realized that, and I know this may be dumb, but we read so many books, and I go, that book was good. It doesn't have to be the best. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what? I'm
yeah.
like, that was a good book. And I'm like, and I'm happy it's on my shelf. Is it the
And
best book I've ever read? No. Am I happy I have it? Yeah.
imperfect is sometimes better.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, like, I've still bought the book. I've still enjoyed the book. It's still out there. It's in my hands. They
That's
might not have thought it was the best thing ever as well, but it's still out there. So I'm like, all right, it is
That's an
here.
attitude I've been trying more and more to implement about my own writing because I
Mm.
feel like, yeah, especially those of us who are perfectionists, you get that like it's not there yet, like it's not good enough yet. But I think I might have been talking to my brother about this actually, of like how how like devastating would it be if you've already written the best thing you're ever going to write?
Yeah.
It should, yeah, the idea that it's not good enough is just motivating to just keep writing more things. It doesn't have to be that
Also,
same thing.
also
Mm.
you're gonna finish it and then it's gonna get editors and then it's gonna go through more drafts and more drafts and more drafts.
This is how I felt reading Bo McBride. I was like, where do we go from here? I was like, I've got my guy. I love him.
Done now.
And
I'll
then
just give up.
they keep getting better. So
I
you
did
know
think you was
what?
telling you were saying some books are just good books, not great
Yes.
books. Right ahead of me in your house.
See, that's a connection between. I kid.
But
I
I
love
think thematic connections work too. We forget
Um,
about thematic connections because I think people you get stuck on chronology, like this happens and this happens and this happens, but actually sometimes an emotional beat or what's the other term? Like sometimes there's poetic connections.
Yeah.
So you can make quite an abstract jump to a new scene, but there's enough of a poetic connection or a thematic connection that the reader will go with you. And it stops you writing the boring scenes. Like you can just skip
Mm.
it, skip all
it.
the
Yeah,
boring
if
stuff.
if you're finding it boring to write, a lot of the time it's just not necessary.
Yeah,
Mm.
boring to
That's what
read.
I tell
Official
myself when
podcast
I,
advice. Just skip it.
yeah,
Skip it.
that's what I tell myself when I get to tick
Fast
things
forward
off
that
my
bit.
list by deleting them.
I'm sick of
Um,
reading about people getting into cars, if I'm being honest about the boring stuff. I'm like, I don't need to hear that you got into the car. Okay. Like I don't need to hear about the travel side of things in terms of like just standard things. That's what I'm putting out there on this pod. Stop writing people getting into vehicles. Okay. I don't care.
Waking up. Like I used to
Oh
go to
yeah.
so many like conferences where the publishers would talk about that. And then when I started marking lots of undergraduate work, I'm like, oh, people really do start every story with I woke up.
Like,
It's like we know you woke up. Like if you're walking around in the world, you definitely woke up today. You don't need to tell me you woke up.
so true.
so,
Hey, what
Millie,
about
Millie, Peyton, someone else?
Millie, how do you start your stories? Is it with waking up?
This is so targeted because my PhD novels started with waking up. It's so
Oh.
mean. You're all so
Wow.
unkind.
Amy had a fat red
Whoa.
pen ready for
First
that one.
novels, first novels, Millie. I'm sure mine do too. You'll all go through my books and be like, what about that one, huh?
Sometimes characters do just wake up.
Sometimes they do be waking up.
They
It,
do be
it
waking up.
was real. It could be different. Anyway, I haven't written for a really long time, actually. I probably haven't written seriously since I finished the PhD, maybe even before that, for a lot of reasons. Um, but the pod really, when we sit and we talk about writing and we talk about books, it does make me like I get that itch of like, oh, I gotta go back to writing. But I just have had to take a break from it.
I think
But I
that's
pretty
fair
much
after completing a
I think it's
PhD.
Yeah.
healthy.
yeah, and like a lot of other stuff going like health stuff and all that crap. But I really am kind of getting the itch for it. I say no writing. Like I do theory write. I do a lot of theory writing, especially at the moment. But also I guess my story writing sort of niche at the moment is filled by D&D
I was
writing.
about to
Like I'm
say,
writing
yeah,
stories and I'm writing plots for that, which is not the same kind of thing technically, but it is
it's
you're
the
doing
same
I'm
same
the same. Like
experience.
a lot of my
Mm.
stuff happens in my head, and then I'm also a what do we call a pantser, and then I also just like throw up on the page like here it is.
You
Um,
also are very good at world building too.
I was going to say I pretty much exclusively write urban fantasy. I haven't really written, and even my short stories tend to be of that flavor,
I love
which does
that.
require quite a bit of world building. And unfortunately, it's kind of the worst thing to do to yourself because you have to be able to world build the real world we live in, and then also world build fantasy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
yeah.
combine them. But that's my favorite thing to do. I split up plotting and pantsing it by I do a lot of notebook filling about the world building. I don't really do that about plot. Like I don't plan the plot out, which you can always tell from first drafts. But yeah, world building, I will have pages and page or everything's digital these days for me, so I'll have documents and documents and documents of world building. And then from that I'll get a little like I more want to write about worlds than I do characters,
Mm.
which I also think probably shows up in first drafts because I'm like, there are things I want to tell you about this world, and to do that, I have to have characters.
Oh,
Damn it.
Yes,
Bloody
Who
exactly.
are
people.
people going to connect with? Ugh.
oh.
So yeah, that's my favorite things to write are lore is what I would call it. Not necessarily setting, but lore and dialogue. I really, really,
You're good at dialogue.
I initially kind of wanted to go into script writing because that's all dialogue and you have to tell your whole story really through dialogue. But we didn't, it's not really a big, you don't do a lot of classes for screenwriting at undergrad. We had like one, I
Mm.
think, at Canberra Uni. So there just wasn't really room to move there. But yeah, I really enjoy
I
dialogue.
reckon I reckon you should just have a crack at it because one thing that I don't particularly do much script writing myself, but my older brother's a filmmaker and he does write a lot of scripts and I will
Mm.
read a lot of his scripts. And it's only actually shockingly recently that I've realized that I read scripts from such a prose perspective that it kind of clouds my view of what the script is. And I think a lot of scripts like there's so much emphasis on the formatting when at the end of the day it's
Oh.
really not that pivotal, at least when you're writing, I don't think, because it's a script is not a finished creative piece. It is a
Mm.
document that is going to be referred to in so many other levels. So I reckon like you can write and you can write dialogue. I reckon just try writing some scripts and see. And
Yeah, I am going to
yeah,
for this current PhD, one of the like I'm doing mini creative pieces, and I think one or two of them are will be script based. So I was like, who cares? I'll format it later.
yeah.
I do know how to format it, but I find that the most tedious part.
Hmm.
It's because it interrupts flow, right? Until you get
It
used
really
to it.
does.
Until you
It
get
really
used to it.
does. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Is
That's
there
it.
a, do you have a different approach when you're writing for like a game where I guess there's only so much planning you can do because players are going to start being chaotic?
Yeah, you can't really write out scenes, You can sort of have I do have dialogue maybe from NPCs that I want to get out during scenes, but then I have to fit them organically into the conversations as well. So I have a bit of that, but yeah, most of it is very much like dot points of like, here are things I have to get into this session. And then when this is, the improvising is the hard part, really, is then you have to find ways to organically put that in the session and in the scenes that you have with the characters. Um, so yeah, I tend to not have so much concrete stuff planned. And I think if you do that as a DM, you're really disadvantaging yourself because you'll have such a rigid idea of how you want scenes and sessions to go. So I find it's easier just to have a dot point list of things that I'm like, well, if I find a good moment, I'm going to slot that in, which works, I think, when you're more of a pantser anyway. It works better to not go in with such a rigid idea of how you want things to go, because you have to remember there are 5 other people at the table who all want the scene to go a different way.
We really need to play
you can't
D&D.
escape. It's your turn.
Your turn.
Oh, I haven't really been writing much either this year. I feel like the years prior to 2026, there was a lot of writing, either academic or creative. But yeah, I have to actually get back into academic writing now. And it's kind of it's intimidating because I'm realizing that I've been away from it for so long.
It's hard. It's hard to get back into it.
Yeah. But I'm probably the closest to a planner, I guess, of all of us now after hearing everyone.
Definitely with the novel, you definitely had a plan.
Yeah, I think it's just because I kind of know how it needs to end in very broad strokes. I kind of know how I want it to end, but more so like I don't know, I don't really plan out specific plot points, I don't think, unless I've like had a very intense daydream about a specific thing and then I sort of write down what I want that to be.
But you're very, very, you think a lot about what effect you want to have.
Yeah, I think that's what the plan is for me, is like what I want the novel to do, kind of conceptually, I guess, like what I want it to do. And then scene by scene, I don't really plan that out for quite a while usually. So I'm a bit more of a pantser, but still with those broad strokes in mind as I'm writing. But then eventually I feel a bit out of control and lost. And so then I start putting some dot points down, but it's usually, again, not specific things. It'll be like the outcome of each scene, what I need the outcome of each chapter to be in order to get to the next thing that needs to happen. So I kind of have milestones that I need to meet. So it'll be like,
sounds really helpful. That
Yeah,
sounds like
that
a really
actually
helpful way to do it.
see?
Write that
Outcome.
down. Write
That's
that
it.
down.
I'm kind
Get a
of
pen,
like,
everybody.
so
I'd
it'll be
really
like,
said to go by what's it, not by experience points, but by what's the other one?
By milestones. Yeah.
milestones. Yeah.
It's basically by vibes instead of by experience points.
And then the most specific it'll be is like, oh, these characters are going to be trapped in an oubliette. I'll figure out how they get out later. This is the scene where they figure out how to get out. I don't know how, but and then I wait till I get there and I go, this is how they get out.
I feel like you do a lot of research for your historicals, though.
I
No?
do a lot of research, yeah. So like probably not so much plotting planning, but so much I love doing all of the reading and the rabbit holes and all that kind of stuff. I find that really fun. And I could spend years doing that probably.
How do you find what research you want to put into the book and what research you're finding? Like, say you've got swaths of it and you're just like, oh, this is
Mm.
incredible. I love all of this. How does your brain work in turning those into like little outcomes almost, or like finding ways to weave them through?
It can be hard because there's so much, and you know that like not all of it is going to end up in the book. But
Mhm.
sometimes, like, there's a book that I have on the back burner, and there's one character in there who is inspired by a specific person, so she'll end up in there. And then for me, I find the hardest thing to research doing historical stuff is the everyday stuff, like how are people cleaning their house and all that kind of stuff, because I want it in the book, but it's so hard to find that written down by
Yeah.
an expert.
Like, what are the details of everyday life that this character wouldn't even think about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I find that like one of the books was set during the French Revolution, and the one that's on the back burner is set in sort of like Tudor era, like late 1500s. There's really not going to be hardly any political real life events. That was like a jumble of words out of order, but you get what I mean. There's very little of that. It's kind of more so maybe the political energy of the period is in the book, and the just the everyday world building stuff is what I find
That's
a bit more
so
interesting.
wild, because those are two so wildly different historical periods of time. So I was thinking, oh my God, the amount of research you're doing for each book is so crazy. But then I was thinking, I guess if you're a person who researches for your books anyway, you're doing research for every different book. And like I know Amy does research for her books. Like you are researching for each book anyway. So then it wasn't quite as crazy as my initial reaction was like, oh my God. But I
Yeah.
guess it's not that crazy.
Like reading the French Rev one and being like, that's definitely from the Tudor era there. I'm
Yeah.
not sure of how that's
But I
Gosh,
also think
could happen.
I also think contemporary fiction requires as much research as historical fiction is.
Yeah,
As
that's
people
kind
do.
of sort of what I don't know if you can see my
Yeah.
face journey in
Yeah.
that moment where I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh no, I guess it's all the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't think people always think that, like that you do as much for contemporary. And I think that's where contemporary writing can get a bit generic, is if you don't think, actually, I need all the same kind of things. Like if I'm setting it in this town, what does it smell like? What is the food like? What coffee shop are
Yeah.
you going to?
Yeah,
Like,
setting, that's where it
And
really
yeah.
shows up.
how has this
You're
person's like context shaped who they are and how they
Yeah.
react to stuff?
yeah.
And that isn't just interpersonal with their like immediate family and
Yeah.
relationships, but also just
What does working class look like in this
Yeah.
town? Like what kind of jobs are
Mm.
there? What kind of industry? What does
It's like hard for contemporary stuff because my PhD one is a contemporary one. Um,
But
it's
again, super
also
specific, like Byron Bay, like super specific.
yeah. It requires, yeah, like you're saying, research and then also the mindfulness, like
Mm.
a lot of mindfulness because you're interrogating your own time period and you take everything for granted. And so you don't think to put things in a book, but you have to. So you have
Yeah.
to like exercise mindfulness all the time.
Mm. And when you're doing that historical research, there's such a like lack of accounts about people who aren't like nobility or like super rich and important and stuff. So then, yeah, those if you're looking outside of the like upper classes, it's harder and harder to find the details you want.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yes. There's a book, I have it sitting here actually, that I'm excited to read, but I feel like it's going to be dark. But it's the Diary of an Executioner. It's called,
Oh, cool.
Oh,
yeah, The Faithful Executioner, Life and Death in the 16th Century. So it's the time period that the back burner book is set in. And yeah, it's got some artwork in there.
That's so cool. I have some books I love. There was a series for historical fiction authors actually. There's like everyday life in the Wild West, everyday life during the Civil War, everyday life in Regency England, and it's all the details of for each class of person. What did underwear look like? What did a cook pot look
Yes.
like? It's all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
I love it.
The
Like if you
People
had a
who are
headache, what would
adapting,
you take?
the
yeah.
people who are adapting the new Sense and Sensibility should have read those books.
Yeah, maybe. There's a really great book about the Middle Ages. What is it? I think it's The Time Traveler's Guide to Medieval
Yeah,
England.
yeah.
It's so good and much more immersive than I expected it to be. It actually feels like a storybook, even though it's because it is kind of perfect for writers. It's teaching you how to world
Mm.
build. It really feels like you're taking a tour through a medieval town, which is so helpful. Figure out money and how people were
I love
farming
that
and all that
stuff.
kind of stuff.
I
Yeah.
could just spend days doing that stuff.
I love watching them too. That's like because I write
Yes.
completely different. So I love to watch that stuff there because it's like keeping my mind ticking. And you go, wow, that's really bad. Oh, I really should not be taking all this stuff for granted because
Yeah.
that is awful. So
And then
yeah, I
the
love it.
hard part is like you want to fit all of it into your
Yeah.
writing. So I always end
And
up with
can't.
really long books. Like I
I
never
end up
know how big an idea is, and I always underestimate it.
I end
I
up wanting
do.
to merge things into fantasy books, and then I go, this is just such a fucked up, like melting pot of shit in this fantasy. It makes no fucking sense.
See, I think I learned over time. So I would do heaps of research to get the world, like whether it's historical or contemporary, to get where it's set. And then I try not to do the other research till I get to the moment. So I'll be writing the scene, then I'll be like, what do I need here? And I'll stop and do the research as I go now, because
Mm,
otherwise I can waste a lot of time researching a heap of stuff. And then you feel like you do want to cram it in. So I
Mm.
yeah.
try to be really utilitarian
You
now.
spend
So
months doing that though, don't you? You spend
The
months on
setting
the,
I
yeah.
love, yeah, which
Mm.
is why North Time was hard, was because it was a very limited time frame to build a big world.
how
What
do you
are you
balance?
writing at the moment, Amy?
I'm editing North
The
China at the
transition.
moment, hence the Aurora. For those of you watching, I put up an Aurora. Yeah, so I mean that was really short, but that's going to be a 4 book series, so it was a big setup of the world, and but every book has a different setting, which is going to be. I don't know why I did that to myself.
Why did you do that?
How do you balance finding like the, I guess, doing research in a way that you're exploring things that will then become important, like letting there be room for you to discover stuff in research that will shape the story fundamentally, versus being having that more efficient, targeted like approach.
Well, I mean, this is, I think, where having written a lot of books, so North Shine's my 16th, and you kind of get a feel for what a book is, like, or what my book is. Like, I'm not going to say everyone's book, but I know my genres now. Like, this one was a bit harder because it's a slightly new genre, but I know that the emotional through line of the character or the character journey is the center.
Mhm.
So I now know what I can hold on to and then what needs to serve that story. And that helps a lot. It gives me a bit of an anchor rather than, I think when I started out, everything was as important as everything else. So, like my focus was on world building, character, plot, everything at once. Whereas now I'm like, okay, if I just hold on to this character's journey, everything has to serve that in some way.
I've always thought of it as scaffolding because I kind of do a similar thing. I feel like I've spoken about before. My process is kind of boring because I usually start with like a specific goal in mind. Like I want to talk about the bourgeoisie and the French Revolution and how they're the same bourgeoisie today. So how did they go from being liberators to being oppressors? And so then all of my research is like thinking about that specific kind of notion, and I scaffold everything around it, like all of the
Yeah.
characters and how the magic system works and all that kind of stuff is meant to all circle back to that thing that I'm trying to do.
That
I'm the
rules,
same,
baby.
even though I don't have to do like, yeah, that's not boring. That's
That
great.
rules. That's
I'm the
Excuse me?
same, even though like for fantasy or for urban fantasy, maybe you're not doing as much of the same kind of research that you're talking about with historical. It's still like I want to explore this. Like for urban fantasy, a lot of it is I want to explore how magic would change this or whatever.
Mm.
And then you just from that point you move outward. So even though
Yes.
I'm doing a ton of world building, I'm still starting from like my PhD novel was what would happen in our Bond world if we did suddenly have access to magic. And from there, you just start picking things like, oh, well, how would that change technology? How would that change medicine? You know, I love that idea of the scaffolding. Like that's what it
Mm.
is. You're not you don't have to fill every corner. Like you do not have to have an answer to everything.
Yeah.
You just need to have that scaffolding built so that when you do come across a thing where you're like, oh, I hadn't considered that, you can do it in the moment, but you've got that foundation there.
Mm. And then I feel like it's helpful because one day if someone, a real nitpicker type of person,
And they
tries to
exist.
nitpick your story, yeah, you can be like, well, no, what I was trying to do was this, and that didn't really fit into that, so that's why it's not there. You know?
Yeah.
Why isn't
Yeah.
this political event or this, milestone or whatever in there? It wasn't meant to be. I wasn't trying to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
Because I
different
said
kinds
so.
of genre fiction too. Like, some books are about the history, and some books are set in the history, but not about the history.
Yeah.
I do
Mm.
think at the end of the day, they're stories, and
Yeah.
people get very hung up on
Yeah.
things in a way that I'm like, you've forgotten that actually this is a book with made up
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
Yes.
forgotten that
Egregiously
we're playing dolls.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
being
basically.
Essentially.
Literally.
Yeah,
Once I
is
came up,
that's
once I
okay.
realized that, I think I was finding it a lot less stressful because I'm not on a deadline. There's no like, like this thing can be done whenever it needs to be done. We're all young as well. Like I think the average
Not
age,
all of us.
well,
Amy's
Yes.
age.
you are young. Oh my God.
Remember, Harry, you're losing all your collagen this year.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
That's
Both of
right.
us. I'm melting. No, but I think when I realized that like the average age I think of an author in Australia is 37 to have their first book published, that is a long way away, right? Like that's a
Oh,
long
Abby's
time.
dying.
I
Sorry,
know.
you're killing it.
No, but this isn't supposed to be
I'm just
killing
every time
because
Harry talks about age, he's
37 is so
he's
old.
so like
So old.
you can like
Basically
like
shriveled up and
it's
dead at
not that it's
37.
old. Oh
No, I
God.
know what you mean because I was talking about this
I know what you're
morning.
saying, Harry. I
So,
know what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you just
So if I'm not
poking
published before
poking
then,
fun at my
really
point
But
here.
okay, I have a good analogy because like I actually do think like if you're a musician or an actor, you can be brilliant at 18. It's like you just can be. And then I think writing is a different beast, particularly novels because they're complex things. But I do think you peak later. It's 30s, 40s, 50s. for writing.
Yeah, and
It's completely different. It's not like sport where you kind of have to do it young. It's
yeah,
an older person's game, this one. And then the other one is like, I don't know. I feel like everyone wants to skip to that bit straight away, but actually you don't want to skip to that bit straight. Like if you were jettisoned into my seat right now, it would kill you. You
yeah.
like to write this
10 days.
fast. You
I
need
think
to
it's
have
really
done all the
hard at the
books.
moment with like social media, etc.
Yeah,
Because the authors that are in your face, like for me particularly, the authors that I see and that are in my face, they are really young. Like they are
Yeah.
in their early 20s, mid 20s, and they're on publishing deals or they're on like their, I don't know, 12th novel. I'm like, how are you doing this? But then I like to remind myself that if I think about the authors that I admire and that I am trying to be, like the T. Kingfishers and the Juliet Marilias, they are not in their early 20s.
yeah,
They are much more, I guess, I don't know,
Mm.
mature authors.
Mm.
But they're in a different bracket. It's like, okay, so what I'm aspiring to be is not where I am.
You're
I
also,
need to
yeah,
start
you're
where they
looking for
started.
longevity, right? As
Yeah.
opposed
Yeah.
to a lot of these young authors will burn out. They won't be able to maintain the kind of work that they're doing now. And also, not all of them, I won't generalize, but quite a few of them are not books of longevity. There are not books
yeah.
that we'll be talking, not that that's like the most important thing
No,
ever, but if you're going for longevity, then those are not your idols,
but
right?
I
this is
think
a
there's also
nice. Sorry, you go first, Justina.
I think there's also a way in which being younger and say having your big publishing break when you're quite young leaves you vulnerable to be being taken advantage of and
100%.
saying yes to things.
Hmm.
And if that might be a completely unreasonable publishing schedule, but someone is telling you, oh no, we want to build on the hype, like this will get really good sales, but you still don't fully know your own writing process for, more than the one book you've written. And then it's like, that's how I also think you might have that longevity issue where you get burnt out and you don't want to keep being
Mm.
that like churn.
And this is a
Yeah.
nice circle back to the beginning of the conversation, which is it comes down to what you want from your career.
Mm.
And I do think, oh God, I sound really old now, but social media so much is around this kind of advertising capitalist culture of selling you something you're not and making you feel panic that you're not good enough. Like I
Mm.
just think if you pop onto any of those Bookstagram, Book Talk, like we're in that environment. I celebrate it. I love people who love books. But I think if it's making you heart race and your hands sweat and you're like, oh, I'm not good enough, like I'm not young, I haven't made it already, I just think that is an ecosystem that's really toxic. And
Yeah.
actually, why are we doing what we do? Like, what do you love about it? What do you enjoy? It's okay if it takes you 20 years to produce the book you love and you're proud of. That's fine. It's not a race. You're not
Yeah.
in competition.
I think I pushed
Mm.
myself away from the book talk space on both Instagram and TikTok because I realized that that was consuming 75% of my time, both in
Mm.
doing a PhD, being on a podcast,
Mm.
writing books on the side, then doing things. And I was like, you know what? I do not want to flick on my phone and scroll through fucking books. I want to scroll like and it was making me anxious because I was like, oh, what's this next one that's coming out? Should I be getting this? Should I be suggesting this? Should we be talking about this? And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that all the time. Like,
Mm.
there has to be some things that aren't going to
And it's
destroy your
also
sense of.
competitive. Like it's just
Yes.
like
Mm.
capitalistic competition of like, have you read 100 books this month? I've read 100 books this month.
Yeah.
The
Mm-hmm.
competitiveness is really what is so sinister to me as someone who doesn't have, I say this all the time, I don't have an ambitious bone in my body and I don't have a competitive bone, like like when it comes down to that. Board games and stuff, yes, I'll kick your
Yeah.
butt, but in life,
100%.
I'm not competitive, so it really exhausts me. But I think it is so sinister. Like that's such a good example. And you're like, I read 100 books this year, and then people
So,
get so they get so up in their feelings about it. And it's like, why does that have to have anything to do with anyone else? Nobody knows how
and
many books I
but
read, and
also,
that's how I like it.
how amazing if you read one book and it was a reread. Great. If you loved it
Who
and you enjoyed it,
And
if you
cares?
there's
read the
ne
same
Yeah.
book 5 times, go for it.
but the
Mm.
negative reviews also get the most traction, and it might be a book that I really enjoyed, and then I'm like, is this swaying my opinion towards hating this book that I liked? And I was like,
Well,
oh, I don't
Mm.
want any of these emotions right
I
now.
think this
Like,
goes back to that like rage-tainment thing
Yeah,
where
yeah,
Anger
yeah,
yeah.
tainment,
where,
anger
where the like algorithms and all these social media platforms literally like channel you towards doing more outrage bait type
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
And they just
Yep.
funnel you towards being upset about stuff because it gets the most attention and
And
engagement.
volume has become a thing, right? Like, so now that we have indie authors and they're so prolific. I think we're going to be interviewing Amy Andrews next month. And I meet some authors because I think I'm relatively prolific, but then you meet authors who've published 90, 100, 150 books. And I'm like, there is no way the way I work, I could ever do that. In my lifetime, I will not be writing 90 books. It's just not going to happen. And so it's like, that doesn't make me not as good. It makes me different. And so
Yeah.
if you write one book, and it doesn't even have to be, everyone pulls out Harper Lee. It's like Harper Lee only wrote one book and it was To Kill a Mockingbird. It's like you might not even write To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Whatever you write has this value because it came from you and no one else has written that book. And it's a unique art object in the world. And go you. Like,
I used to roll my eyes at that so much when you would say that in undergrad because I'd be like, oh, well, we're all going to be the big ones. But now I'm like, no, there's a reason that you guys that you've said this for so long, and that I hear other people at RWA that
there's
have written 70
value.
books.
There's value in
value.
every person and
Whenever it
every work of
happens
art.
is whenever it happens.
Yeah.
I find this helpful thinking back on TikTok and stuff, but not just readers, also writers. If I'm comparing myself to them, I like literally imagine a scenario where I'm doing everything that they're doing, and I realize I don't want to do that at
It makes
all.
me stressed.
So
Yeah.
why am I comparing
Makes me
myself
really
to them?
stressed.
100%.
Yeah. I'm like, actually, I don't even want that.
Makes my
Yeah,
heart race.
not
exactly.
good
Just
at
listening
it.
to Amy talk about her publishing schedule makes my heart race.
Oh, it makes
Yeah,
my heart
so
race.
true.
It's too
Like-
much.
I was just going to say they're so great at social media and enjoy spending time creating content. And I think I imagine myself doing that, and I go, no,
But
I
then
would not enjoy
we
it.
saw Stacey McEwen last year at a conference, and she was talking about you can't do everything, and that she only does how many social posts a week, one or two. And she was talking about taking years to grow. And she's like, pick one thing and do it. And I remember sitting there going, this is my one thing. Amy Ann is my one thing because I really enjoy it. And we actually produce lots of content, but we don't think of it as producing
No.
content. We're
Yeah.
actually just having conversations. And then you guys
You
are,
lock us in a room.
yeah, then you're all amazing editors. So thank you for that. But it's not ever content led. Do you know?
Well, because I hate to think of it, I know that is technically what it is, but I hate to think of it as content. Like I hate the word content.
Because it's such a
And when
capitalist
people
thing.
call
Yeah.
books content, I'm like, that's not content. That's a book. That's
That's your
art. That's
soul.
craft. It's your soul.
I saw Matt Haig. He's been posting stuff lately, the author Matt Haig, about that stuff. And he did this beautiful reel where he was talking about he was watching booktokers and bookstagrammers talk about monetizing their content and how they, like producing in order to get something. And he's like, oh my God, people, this is about like a book is about I feel pain as a human being. How do I understand my pain? How do I understand what it means to be a human in the world? How do I understand my love? How do I work through the world by making art? And it's like, don't think of it as like I've got to monetize that and what's the content there? And I just thought that was so beautiful. If someone wants to go look up Matt Haig online. So he's doing some beautiful posts around actually what is art? Why do we do what we do?
Because it's torture sometimes, so there has to be some sort of
A
beautiful
lot of the
part
time.
underneath it. Yeah. I think we're coming around to the idea that writing is really shit sometimes. We kind of all hate it, but we
Like
try it for
life.
ourselves anyway because we love
I
it.
feel really bad for, I think Millie is editing this episode. It's so long. It's so
Yeah, we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
stop now. We
We're
will
going to
stop
wrap
now.
this up.
I'm just gonna cut everything so badly. Snip, snip, snip.
Excellent.
Just
Well,
two
I
on
times
just
that
think
speed.
it proves that we need more
Two times
episodes
speed.
like this.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
we
so
need more
too.
episodes where we
Yeah.
talk about ourselves. We don't
I
ever
like it.
take a break.
Because we're covert
Covert
narcissists.
narcissists.
We're
Yeah.
covert narcissists.
Overt narcissists today.
No, that's the name of the episode. Covert narcissist.
Covert
Yeah, done. Tick.
6
How to write
covert
15 books.
narcissists walk into a bar.
6 covert narcissists log into Zoom.
There you go. Done. It writes itself. Thanks for joining me, everyone. It's nice. We'll do this more often. I like learning more about you and hearing about it. Because I often get to hear about it in very formal settings. It's
Yeah.
nice to hear about it
That's so
informally.
true.
That is
And
I
we
also
often
love
give
learning about writing from all of you. So yeah, this is great.
Same.
Yeah.
We
I'm
often hear
taking that
about how Amy
scaffolding
thinks about our
Yeah.
writing.
metaphor away with me. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Justina, Millie, Abby, Peyton, and Harry. It's been a
Thank
pleasure as
you.
always. Next month, everyone, if you want to join us, is August. Have I got my book? I'm sure I do.
The book.
The book. So we're doing Smart Months, which we do every month.
Every year.
Every month. We basically talk about smart every month. I feel like we've covered it every single month, but formally we do it every year.
Someone should have done a pornographic zine. Why didn't
Oh,
Oh my God.
don't put that out in the world. We're going to get some. We don't need your dick pics.
I was tempted to do a spider one, but that's a spoiler.
Spider penises.
So if you want to join us for Smart Month, what we're going to be looking at is Monster Smart. And we're going to be reading as our theory for the month, Catherine Angel's Tomorrow Sex Will Be Good Again, and our book of the month, which if you can see it, I don't know if I can get it up
beautiful aurora around the the
Around
main
the-
characters
It's,
on the cover.
CM Nacosta's Morning Glory Milking Farm, which was a USA Today bestseller, and most of you have probably read it already, but if you haven't, get on it. We're going to be talking about, representations of sex and smart and
Monsters.
the politics of it, Monster Smart and the politics of it. Very graphic book. I'm going to warn you all in advance. It gets graphic immediately, and then it just gets more graphic.
Yeah.
I had left it lying around in the kitchen the other day, and my kid picked it. They're an adult, by the way. Don't freak out. They're 19. They're 19, but they picked it up and they were like, "What is this?"
What are you reading?
Yeah. And then they were reading bits out to me while I made my coffee. I was like, "Yep, that's what's coming down."
Yep.
I'm so sorry that Mum bought this.
So everyone,
good.
grab your copy of Morning Glory Milking Farm if you haven't read it already, and we will see you next month for Smart Month. So see you, everyone.
Bye.
Amy And is hosted by Amy Matthews, Abby Guy, Peyton Hogan, Justina Ashman, Harry Stewart, and Millie Heffernan. This podcast is recorded on Gardenland with music by Anthony Wignall and Mass Wisteria. Our logos and branding are designed by Abby Guy. This episode was edited by Millie Heffernan.